So one thing that I've been talking about since the reveal of Super Mario Bros. Wonder is Mario Maker, because I can't help but to think this game being in a Mario Maker game would be so freaking cool. And of course, with Mario Maker, we're kind of running out of game styles. I mean, they had to even add a unique one with Mario 3D World being a 2D game style for Mario Maker, which was a little weird, and it was pretty cool though. It was definitely missing and lacking a lot of assets compared to the other styles, but a lot of people were still wanting to see another one, whether it was Super Mario Bros. 2, maybe a Paper Mario style, maybe Mario Galaxy. They took another 3D Mario game and placed it into 2D. Mario 64 would have even worked, but we talked about this for a very long time, and obviously Nintendo never did give us that extra game style. But now everybody's minds is looking forward to Mario Maker 3 and what they could do next. And before Mario Wonder, I think everybody was on the same page that we might actually need a 3D Mario Maker game, allowing us to make 3D levels like 64, Sunshine, Galaxy, maybe even Mario 3D World levels, which would have been really cool. But with that in mind, I don't want to really give up on the 2D Mario Maker yet, because now we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which absolutely changes everything. With the brand new Nintendo Direct that we got, giving us like over 15 minutes of new gameplay, I got to see a lot of this game and pretty much everything that I needed to see to make the final decision that, yeah, this would be an awesome game in Mario Maker, and I want to explain why. But before we get started, guys, by the end of this video, it is very likely that we will reach 250,000 subscribers. Our goal that we've had for ourselves for a very long time. 250,000 subs. This means so much. So thank you so much for tuning in and helping us to reach this. Make sure you just leave a like and subscribe to make sure that we reach that at the end of this video. And thank you so much for tuning in. We have special videos planned for you guys for this 250K special, so I cannot thank you enough. But let's jump into the video. So I'm going to go piece by piece and section by section talking about how this game would work really well in Super Mario Maker. I mean, most people can already assume how well it'll work, but let me just kind of give you guys examples just how much we have here. And the first thing I want to start off with is worlds and themes. I mean, just look at the beautiful worlds and levels that we have in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It finally takes us into a direction that's not just water, jungle, lava, but mixes up these areas into unique themes like a sweets theme, a oriental sky castle area, a white sand dune at night. Like, there's some really amazing areas that are shown off within this trailer, to the point where there's actually like too many themes that I was able to count. I mean, seriously, there's just so much here. So yes, I see it as a complete win when it comes to level themes, because Nintendo definitely has enough here to fill out like 8 different themes, 10 different themes, maybe even 15 to 20 different themes if they wanted to go even higher with Mario Maker 3, so that's definitely not an issue. Unfortunately, we didn't see a lot of bosses. We've only seen Bowser Jr. so far, which is still a win, because Bowser Jr. seems to be a boss in almost every single other theme anyways within Mario Maker, so that works for sure, but we have ridiculous amounts of new enemies, and also returning ones as well. I even made a whole video about every enemy that we've seen so far, and it's over 70 different enemies, and like literally over half of those enemies are brand new ones. And a lot of these would be super easy to implement in something like Mario Maker, as we're just placing these enemies down on the stage, and a lot of them have basic commands. For instance, Hoppy Cats, you can just place them down and they jump when you jump. You have the Melon Piranha Plants, which just shoot out seeds, the Condarts, which just fall to the ground after you pass them, which are just some easy enemies to incorporate in Mario Maker. And honestly, it's like that for a lot of them, as a lot of them are just kind of reimaginings and new versions of enemies that we've already had in the Mario series. And there's also new enemies that we can actually interact with differently. Like, we can actually grab cords and pull them in order to unravel them, like the Mumsies. We could ride the Bulrushes around, placing them in a level and having them follow the main character around, and maybe even players can use them in order to bust through secret walls or put secret exits in their levels, which would be super cool. Also, some of the enemies are not just there to be bad guys, but they also can work as obstacles as well, like the Hoppos, which you can actually bounce off of and use them as cool level platforming. And you also have these giant root pots, which you can actually swing from in order to damage them, which is also cool, including these birds that also shoot platforms out for you to climb up. So literally having that in Mario Maker would open up so many options for level design. That's not even mentioning the fact that lots of past enemies are making their return as well, such as Goombas, Koopa Troopas, Boos, and even Lakitus are all returning in Mario Wonder, which would work really good for Mario Maker. Now, let's talk about Gizmos. Are there anything that's like super brand new in Mario Wonder that actually adds to the course elements? Not necessarily. You have your normal blocks that you can break, you have your blocks that you can't break, and you have your terrain, whether you can make it sloped or not. So nothing in this game really stands out to me as that cannot be incorporated in Mario Maker. Actually, a lot of the terrain and platforms reminds me of Mario Maker already, and looks like it was made with a very similar tool. You have your background and your background platforms that you can actually step on the tops of. You have your foreground, or the ground that you actually platform on, and you have your Mario blocks. But there are some other things and elements that would be really cool to see in Mario Maker. For instance, you have these new note blocks that bounce every time you walk on them. You have these new speed rails which actually boost you forward, and Mario can hang from the top one, and even grind rail on the bottom one, and they can even boost you up as you hang onto the side wall. You have countdown platforms very similar to Yoshi's Island, where every time you interact with them, the number will decrease until eventually, I would assume, the platform would just disappear. You have your returning moving platforms, platforms that follow a path, and even little spike blocks, which all return from past Mario games. You have new jars full of water that you can actually pick up and throw around, not to mention that this is one of the only games, once again, just like Super Mario World, where you can actually pick up items and toss them up or kick them in different directions. Just a couple other little things, like maybe some handles on some pillars and stuff on the background, which we don't really know what they do yet, but overall, there's not too much of a difference between the other Mario Maker games, where adding some gizmos, some blocks, and some new objects to mess around with in the stage really wouldn't be that difficult. Now, as far as items go, there's really only 3 new ones, and I think they could be incorporated pretty easily. The elephant apple actually just turns Mario into an elephant, and it doesn't really change too much. It just allows him to swing his trunk around and just be kind of a heavyweight, and also reflect items. But yeah, he can also, I guess, put water in his trunk, but adding that shouldn't be too difficult, because I would assume by the time of Mario Maker 3, they will figure out how to have just regular waterways in any level that you want, not just a jungle theme. But the elephant power-up just kind of makes you stronger and bigger, so they definitely could add this in Mario Maker. Next up, we have the bubble flower, which once again could be really cool in Mario Maker, and I don't think it would make anything really that difficult. All you do is just blow bubbles, and it will trap enemies in them, and you can also blow them and hop off of them, which could make for a really cool design level, making your way all the way to the top or all the way to the end simply using a bubble flower. I can really see some cool things coming from this one, as people would probably make some crazy Kaizo levels, throwing shells, bouncing off the bubbles and the shells and stuff to reach the other end. Yeah, this would be probably annoying for levels, but at the same time, it would be a really cool addition. The same thing goes for the drill mushroom, which is very simple. All it does is give Mario and characters a protection when they jump above their head, and they can also ground pound into the ground in order to break certain blocks and certain ice structures. But at the same time, it allows you to drill into the ground, which is something very unique that we have not seen anything like that in Mario Maker. Now, we've had this in a 3D space with Mario Galaxy 2, but in 2D, it's really cool because you can go on the ceiling, you can go down below, you can sneak underneath blocks and go into secret sections, and I think this would be really cool for Mario Maker. And the only other items we probably are going to get are going to be stuff that we've already seen. I mean, the only other one that they've even showed was the fire flower, so this might actually be it, which means this shouldn't be too difficult to incorporate these items and power-ups into Super Mario Wonder in Mario Maker. Now, this is the thing that is going to maybe mess all this up. Everything sounded good up to this point, but then we have the actual Wonder Flower. You can't have a Mario Wonder theme without the Wonder Flowers. It's kind of what makes this whole game's identity. Like, this is what Mario Wonder is about, is these wacky Wonder events. How in the world does Nintendo give the player an option to use Wonder Flowers? Well, the only thing that I can possibly think of is if Nintendo came up with a set of like 10 to 20 different Wonder events, and we got to actually choose from them. Like, we put the flower down on the stage and choose what Wonder event out of the 20 that we want to happen. Now, does it work well with every single stage? That's why they would probably have to be more basic Wonder events, like nothing that's actually changing the stage, flipping it, or making you walk on the back side like we saw Luigi do. But maybe things that just kind of affect what the stage does. For instance, maybe the stage now has 0 gravity and you can float around it. Or for instance, now you can turn into a Goomba and complete the rest of the stage as a Goomba. You can put a start time and an end time, or really a start zone and an end zone for where the flower is activated and when the activation ends. Maybe more just transformations, like when he turned into a spike ball, the Goomba, other enemies we can see that he does turn into, maybe him just turning into Balloon Mario, making it a vertical level and you can fly around, just stuff that maybe just transforms and maybe feels more like item power-ups, and Nintendo would determine what those would be. It'd be like a set of 20, you can pick what you want to use, and maybe they can keep updating the game and adding more Wonder events as time goes on, but yeah, nothing that really shifts or changes the terrain all too much. I think this could still be possible if they kept it simple. A lot of people would be upset that it's so simple, but at the same time, if you want the crazy ones, go back and play the actual Mario Wonder game. And the last thing I could really think of is badges. Would Nintendo actually add badges to Super Mario Wonder in Mario Maker? Maybe in a way. Let me explain. Once again, very similar to the Wonderflower events, maybe you can control what badge the player has within that specific level. And before you start, it'll tell you in the menu that you have this badge activated before jumping into that stage. So that way you know what you have and how you can incorporate it. So that way if the creator makes a water level, you can automatically set the dolphin kick badge to be on when that player enters that level, which would be pretty cool. Or if you want the wall jump one, you can automatically just set it for that specific level, and it will warn the player before they jump into the stage that, hey, you will have the grappling vine, or you will have the super jump, or the super boots, super speed, or safety bounce, whatever they decide to put on based on that specific level. Now, obviously, just like the game says it's going to do, you'll only be able to have one at a time, and there will probably be like a list of like 7 to 10 different, badges that you can put on. I think that would be perfect, and maybe, players could come up with crazy things like being invisible for the whole level and stuff, and it would actually make individual creator levels more thematic and more interesting, and you can make them almost like mission based, like a short little level that just utilizes a certain badge and does some really cool things with it. I can see some awesome levels being designed thanks to this one concept alone. And honestly, I don't think that would be a huge undertaking for Mario Maker 3. Now the question is, what other game styles does Nintendo put in that game? I really don't know. It's hard to say. Is it just going to be all old ones again and then this one as the added one, or are they going to really focus Mario Maker 3 on just like this style of Mario and this would be the only game there, like a Mario Wonder Maker? It's hard to say, but odds are this is still probably a long ways away. But it's awesome to know that we can still get new 2D Mario games that adds lots of brand new mechanics, and still get Mario Maker games as well that incorporates those mechanics a couple of years later. That is super exciting. But let me know in the comments down below, how excited would you be for Mario Wonder to enter Mario Maker 3? I know we still haven't got our hands on the game, but just from looking at it, it looks absolutely phenomenal, and I'm just imagining some wacky levels that creators are going to be able to make with this current tool set. But let me know in the comments down below what you think about this idea. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario Wonder and Nintendo in general. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.